What do you do when you cannot control what's happening? Let me define what a crisis is for you again. A crisis is an event or a circumstance or a situation that impacts and influences your life, over which you have no control, or you are not the cause of or responsible for. In other words, a crisis is something that you have no control over. This is why it's very difficult for even governments to talk to their own citizens. Because if they could have controlled what was happening, they would have more confidence in speaking to their people. The problem with a crisis is you don't control anything. So everyone is a victim of the circumstance. Now I know that most of us may not consider how important it is when they talk about the two major car companies in the United States having to be bailed out or requesting assistance from the U.S. government. But please take that seriously. It is also estimated that over 5 million jobs in the United States are directly or indirectly related to the automotive industry. In other words, those of you in the Bahamas or Jamaica could appreciate that, because if your economy is built significantly, percentage built on a specific industry, then any change in that industry negatively will affect a ripple effect in your economy. Case in point, in the Bahamas, it is believed that 1 out of every 3 jobs or even more are related to tourism in the Bahamas. The second largest employer in our country, next to the government, is a resort. If something was to happen to our tourist product, our country would collapse. That's what America is facing now with the automotive industry. This is why the CEOs of the automotive giants sitting before Congress are sitting there without shame. They have some clout. What they're saying is, we need help. We can't control the circumstances. We are victims of this global crisis. And the same way you helped the banks from collapsing, you saved the insurance companies from imploding, the same way you are extending your hands to other private corporations, we need you to give us at least $34 billion, or we will file bankruptcy, and there's a potential of over 5 million people losing their jobs just like that, which means that the Bahamas and Jamaica and all the other countries who depend on the U.S. tourist dollar will be in trouble. Now, I listened very carefully because to me this is a historic event going on. Never in the history of the United States has that country been brought to a place where it is having to buy out the private sector. I say bailout, but I think it's a buyout. Buyout means that the government is literally having to take ownership of private enterprise, which is the foundation of capitalism. Listen carefully, please. Now, I thought that this was the first time this has happened in history. Now, remember this statement. It's not what happens to you that matters. It's what you do about what happens to you that matters. So what's happening now in the world, every country, France, Germany, England, Spain, Belgium, Venezuela, Chile, Peru, Mexico, Canada, the United States, everybody is trying to respond to this crisis. You know of the meetings they had 3 weeks ago. the G7 group met, then the G12 met, and everybody's trying to figure out, how do we respond to the crisis? Well, here's something to remember. Write this down. Doing nothing is not an option. You cannot, in a crisis, do nothing. It will destroy you. And that's why the governments are working so hard. Now, the United States, which is doing the same that England did, England moved before the United States. Canada actually moved before India, and before England rather. What France did, France bought out their banks. Britain bought out their banks. So they actually owned the banks in the country, the major banks. The government owned the banks. In the United States, the government not only have ownership in the banks, but also in the insurance companies. And now the major industries, like the car companies, are saying, do something with us. Buy us out. Give us some money. Let us owe you. We want to survive, but we need you to give us a lot of money. $34 billion. Now, the money they're asking for is government money. But let me remind you all that governments have no money. All government money is the people's money. That's where your taxes go. When you pay customs duties, when you pay NIB, when you pay your income tax or your federal tax or state tax in the U.S. or wherever you are from, that is what they call government money. It's the people's money. So you've got the companies in the country who hire the people, telling the people to loan me your money to keep you employed. This is a deep scenario. What you're about to read is shocking. When there's a crisis, the word for crisis in the Bible is the word famine. Everybody say famine. Say it again. In an agricultural society, famine is crisis. In a capitalist society, economic downturn is crisis. Same thing. Now, I want you to read with me from the book of Genesis. Can you, everyone turn there, please? You won't believe what you're going to read. I want to read this very quickly because I want to show you that Barack Obama need to go and study Joseph. I mean this seriously. Mr. President, sir, if you're watching this program anywhere, in hotels, anywhere you stay in, sir, please go and study Genesis and read the strategy of Joseph. I'm about to read to you exactly what Congress is doing right now in the United States in the Bible. Genesis chapter 47, verse 13. Now, as you read this, every time you see something that's happening now, just say, all right, ready, go. There was no food. I hear y'all. In the whole region because the famine was severe. Good. Both Egypt and Canaan wasted away because of the famine. Joseph collected all the money that was to be found in the country and in Canaan in payment for grain they were buying. Now, when you read that, it is the government taking the money. Joseph is the government. He is the prime minister of Egypt at the time. Why did he take the money? So the people could have food. It gets worse. They had to pay for the grain they were buying. And he brought it to Pharaoh's palace. Where did he bring it? Now, every time you see Pharaoh, just say government. When the money of the people of Egypt and Canaan was gone, that means all the money gone. Anybody feel that yet? They broke. All Egypt came to Joseph and said, give us food. Who'd they go to? What is Joseph? The government.